All right, third grade, we have March already. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. All right, so here we have the Bridges thoughts on number corner for March. And scroll down, then you have my notes, okay? To give you the big picture of what everything entails for the month of March and whether you want to go by the book of number corner as to what to do on what day, or just look through my stuff and be like, oh, I think I'm going to do this these days and those days. I'm going to hit this every day. So you decide, okay? So calendar grid. It's all about, as you notice, graphs and clocks. And when you turn over a grid marker and it's a graph, they're kind of small. So if you would like to display the digital version of these, this is a PDF and you can just scroll through each day or put these on a smartboard file, but you can make that zoom in a little bit, right? And take a look at the first calendar marker together instead of looking at that tiny one together. And then just ask some questions every day about what they see and what is this thing about. We're trying to read it. This is reading in math, right? Reading this graph and trying to figure out what it says. Okay, so those are fun. And then you have clocks. So then you go from a digital clock to some analog clocks and back to digital. The whole point is working on elapsed time. So you could fill in a observation chart if you want. Me personally, I'd go without it and just discuss each day these graphs and come up with some questions together, and then I'd look at the digital version and have them like make it on a mini clock, or have the MLC clock app up and we can make it together, 2:10, and then move to the new time today, which they could write on their whiteboard is 4:10. How much time has passed or elapsed time? And we could use the geared clock on the MLC app together. I go down here, I go to geared hands, I start at 2:10, okay? And then we need to notice the hands are almost on top of each other, you guys, pointing at the 2:10. But now it is not 2:10 anymore on the next one. Look at this. The minute hand has gone around 1 hour to 3:10. No, we need to make it to 4:10. It's gone around twice, so that's 2 hours. Okay, so that's a nice app to make use of for the calendar grid. They also have some books, whether you want to read a book about graph or time. But those are the recommendations. All right, scrolling through calendar collector and solving problems. I kind of combine these two because the solving problems is about area and perimeter, and that's what calendar collector is about. So what you're collecting are square feet, if you remember this, and you are having the kids make, see these pieces of art, you're having them make their own square foot of art. And so that would be like 1 or 2 days where they're making their own lovely square foot of art. And then you have a pile of artwork of square foot art. And each day, so on March 2nd, I'm going to take out 2 of those pieces of artwork. And we're going to make as many rectangles as we can out of those. So I could make a 1x2, or that's it, a 2x1. But that's just the rotated version. So then we'd find the perimeter and area of our piece of artwork. When you get to like something like the 10th of March, now you have more things to make. Now we could make a rectangle that's a 2x5, or we can make a 1x10, and we could find the area and perimeter and notice that the area stayed the same, but the perimeter ends up changing. And then we could make something that's not an exact rectangle and find the area and perimeter of that using those same 10 pieces. If you're like, oh, I want the kids to do this on grid paper, here's some grid paper, large and small grids, that you could have them drawing this out each day, or you could have them set up the formation on their whiteboard with colored tiles. So they'd have a colored tile represent each one of these square feet. Okay, so again, you're taking the ideas of area and perimeter from last month and keep it going. They're gonna have way more practice again with area and perimeter. And then solving problems is just a bunch of practice pages that you could do one of these problems. Like don't give them the entire page, but you could just cut off one of these problems that you guys are going to work through together. And if it's a harder problem, good, right? If there is no struggle, there is no progress, right? So we need to do some harder things. And then other cool resources is just this sidewalk art that you could read about on Bedtime Math. There's an article to go with it. That's looking at square footage. All right, then moving on, we have computational fluency and number line. Computational fluency is all about times 6 and times 9 facts. Here are some practice sheets there. When I'm working with groups of kids and we're trying to do a fact like 6 times 7, 6 groups. So now I'm going to make it on my hand, 6 groups. And each one of these is 7. Each one of these is 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. How could we do this easier instead of counting by 7s? We could group it into a group of 5 and one more group of 7, right? So it's nice to see it on the hands because I have a group of 5. So I could count by 5s 7 times, and that'll give me this number, and then add on 7 more for my 6 times 7. Or I could see it as a group of 3 and another group of 3. So if I could get my 3 times 7 and another 3 times 7, that works out nicely. So I've found it works nice to see it on your fingers. And the same with the times 9 facts. So if I have 8 times 9, I'm gonna think, man, well that's close to 8 times 10, right? 8 times 10 is 80. But we only want 8 times 9. Oh man, what did we have to do? We had to take away one group of 8. So I'd have to go from 90 and go back a group of 8. So that helps out when doing 9 and 6 facts or any facts, is to look at it on your fingers so you can break those groups up easier. Number line. Number line component is bringing back the fractional ideas. So digital display versions you can find here. It might be easier to display these. This one is a completed one. You'd want to start with the second page. And you go through together and you write in what these are. This is half. This is 2 halves. Or 1. This is 3 halves. This is 2 or 4 halves. And I keep going like that, right? And then if you notice on this one, they also marked out the quarters. So then we go through like in another color and together mark out the fourths. So now I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to go here now. And this is 1/4. This would be 2/4. Then we have 3/4. Then we have 4/4. So we're writing all these out. And then once we get those all down, now I can ask them some of these questions here. So circle the fraction that is greater, 7/4 or 7 halves. So now we look and we find 7/4 and we find 7 halves. And 7 halves, where is 7 halves? I have 8 halves over here. And then I have, they did not mark 7 halves. 5 halves, 6 halves. Oh, there it is, 7 halves. Right? 7 halves, and then I can tell that 7 halves is greater than 7/4 by making use of a number line. So yeah, you're trying to find those fractions and compare them after you guys have labeled them in there. Okay, going back to the notes, there are also some PDFs of those here if you'd like them. Okay? All right, adios, math on.